Welcome to Exploring the Mystical Side of Life with your host, Linda Lang.
Hi, this is Linda Lang from thoughtchange.com. I have Rebecca Thompson here with me. Rebecca is an author and a life coach who went through a really difficult, challenging period and found some help in unusual ways. With all of the transformation that the world is going through right now, sometimes Spirit comes calling, offering you assistance in ways you have no idea. Welcome, Rebecca.
Linda, thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here today.
Well, this is definitely a very transformational time. The world is in upheaval in many places. People are in upheaval as their own personal transformation, is propelling them on their path. And you have a story of how you've overcome life challenges and you had help from unexpected sources.
I certainly did.
Do you want to tell us just a little bit about your path and how it started to be turned to a spiritual experience?
Linda, I grew up in a small town in Western Pennsylvania, just outside of Pittsburgh, and I was raised in the Presbyterian church and taught Sunday school and sang in the choir, and went to college at Penn State and majored in industrial engineering. And there I met and married my college sweetheart, and we moved to Rochester, New York, and I got a job as an industrial engineer. My now ex got a job as an engineer as well, and he ultimately started his own business, and we bought a house and got a dog and literally put up the white picket fence and started raising 3 kids, and everything was going fine. And he had started his own business and it began to fail, and he began to drink heavily. And so it was kind of everything was going fine until it wasn't situation. And things just went kind of from bad to worse. And so during all this time, I'm maintaining my career in the corporate world, but at the same time, I embarked on this spiritual journey, and it wasn't something that I planned to do. It just was a series of events that started with a friend of mine. We went on a trip together, and we were in a bookstore, and this woman came up to us and said, excuse me, but I'm a psychic and I'm getting some information coming in about you two, and I wonder if I could share it with you. And we were just like, whoa, we had never, ever experienced anything like that. And like I said, I just was from a small town Protestant background. I didn't know anything about anything metaphysical at all. So it was kind of unusual, but we said, well, sure, go ahead. And she started telling us things that she could not possibly have known. So we actually bought a book about increasing your intuition and your psychic power. And we bought a book about the law of attraction. And, so we just started doing some reading. And then I started to just get invited to things. I was doing some volunteer work with my daughter, and the woman who was in charge of the volunteer program invited my daughter and I to a dowsing class. And we didn't know anything about dowsing. All I knew about dowsing, I thought it was you use a forked stick to find water, right? That's the only thing I knew. I knew nothing. But we liked this woman and enjoyed working with her. And we thought, well, how weird can it be? We'll just go find out what it is. So we spent a day in a dowsing class, and I was still very skeptical. Like I said, I knew nothing. I'd been exposed to so little of this kind of thing. And even at the beginning of the day, she gave us each a set of dowsing rods and, was telling us how to hold them. And she sent us all off into our own little corner to work with them, find out what's your yes response and what's your no response, which, I thought, well, this isn't going to work. I don't have powers like this. You have to have some kind of special powers to do this. And so I go off in the corner and I'm thinking, all right, play with this for 5 minutes. And then I'm going to go to the teacher and I'm going to tell her, thank you for having me, but it was, it's not my thing. And I'm going to gather up my daughter and I'm going to go home. So I go in the corner and I hold rods in the position she tells me, and I ask, show me my yes, because they're, each person's supposed to have their own individual way that the rods will move for them. And sure enough, they moved. I was like, okay, I caused this to happen, right? I'm gonna hold really still and do this again. And it just kept happening the same way over and over and over. And then I tried it again with a no, show me my no. And I had a totally different way that they moved. And, I was just astonished. That hooked me. That hooked me because it was actual physical evidence that there was some power, that I was not doing this. So I think that was really the point that I got hooked.
I think that you can really talk yourself out of anything if you want to and you try hard enough. It is more challenging when you have a little physical evidence, though.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Rebecca, in your book, Rebecca Rising, you talk about how you started to communicate with the moon. So how did that happen, or why did you start communicating with the moon?
Well, I didn't start talking to the moon on my own. I feel like the moon started talking to me. And the way that happened was I was just actually asleep in bed, and my dog woke me up. And she was not usually one to get up in the night, but she kept bugging me. So I got up with her. We went outside, and the moon was huge. It was one of those really big, full moons right in front of us. And it was like, it was speaking to me. I heard a voice in my head, and I just don't even know how to describe it other than it seemed like the moon was talking to me. And at the time, I was trying to make a decision of whether to move with my husband. He'd gotten another job out of state, and he had already moved. And I was trying to decide if I should stay with him or, move on. And so the moon said to me, "You are missing the point." I was like, "What do you mean I'm missing the point?" And went on to say, it's not about what nice suburb you're going to live in. It's not this. You're just missing the point of what this is all about. This is about who do you want to be and how do you want to feel. And it was, whoa, that was just such a revelation to me. Then this continued to happen. It would happen maybe every couple of weeks. It was just amazing. And I had a friend, she's a professor of medieval history, and she's got a lot of background in mythology. And she said to me, I think that this could be the goddess of the moon, Diana. Yeah, so this continued to happen. And even to this day, I continue to have, although not as frequent as at that time. Well, at first it was always in the middle of the night, and it would be, 3:30 in the morning or something. So there was a time when I was out right before bed with the dog, and I said, "Look, is there anything you want to say to me now? Because I really don't want to get up in the middle of the night." And so then it did become more, I could initiate these conversations. She said, "If there's anything, if you want to talk to me, just come outside. Just come outside in the night. Just come outside."
I'm curious the kind of messages that you would receive from her, or the kind of questions you had for her.
At first, I was very obsessed with just, should I move or not? What should I do? Should I leave my husband or not? And she would kick it up a notch, to make it more, what you do is not as important as how you feel, who you are as a person. She told me I was addicted to busyness, just staying busy and constantly checking my email and, things like that. And she's like, you need to slow down, listen to your heart. And a lot of it was around self-love. Take time for yourself, and, and don't worry so much about what other people think, or what your mother thinks you should do, or what your husband thinks you should do. And, really listen to your own heart. She talked to me about my support system. She said, don't go it alone. I was getting really close to asking him to move out. And she said, don't go it alone, which was an interesting thing, because she'd been telling me, follow your own heart and don't listen to what other people say. But she was asking me to just kind of engage my support systems and make sure that I had lots of support. Literally the next day after she said that to me, don't go it alone, I had a friend call. I was living in California by then. And she said, oh, I've got a consulting gig in California and I'm going to be there for at least 3 months. So, and she was one of my best friends. And it was like, wow, I'm not going to go it alone. She's going to be there for me. And so just things like that would happen.
So you must have felt really supported to have this kind of synchronicity.
Absolutely. I felt very supported. I mean, at first I felt a little weirded out, because it was just such a strange thing. And because I thought, who could I tell this to that won't think I'm crazy? And there were certain people in my life that I didn't think I could tell. And as I've gone on, I mean, other people have said, well, why would you worry about that? It's just, one of the faces of God, or, if you choose to call it God or higher power or whatever.
It kind of goes against the message that she was giving you as well, not to worry about what other people think
Yes.
and to listen to your own heart.
But, it's one thing to say it, and then it's another to give up some of your lifelong beliefs, right? Or the lifelong patterns, perhaps.
So have you given up those lifelong patterns or the programming that you received growing
Quite a
up?
lot of it. I think it's a lifelong struggle, right? A lifelong journey. But I would say quite a lot, in terms of the way I was raised and the things I was taught to believe. I've definitely moved past a lot of that.
How did your family embrace the new Rebecca?
My children have been incredibly supportive of me, and they're very science focused. So we get into conversations about the intersection of metaphysics and science, which I think there's a great deal. For example, crystals. I used to just think it was a superstition to carry a crystal, and as I've studied it, I understand more that crystals have a vibration. We have a vibration, and that's scientific because we're made up of atoms and molecules that do vibrate. And so, the fact that we're mostly made up of water, we can be influenced by a more stable molecular structure that's found in a crystal. So there is science behind all of it.
For some people, when they jump on their spiritual path, there is a feeling of not fitting in the family anymore, but it's almost like, they can't deny that inner push that life is leading them down the path. And I think that's happening quite a bit right now as we're going through this transformational time, that we're really having to listen to our hearts a little bit more and the wisdom inside. As you develop this relationship with the moon, and it's still ongoing, if you can see its reflection in your own innate wisdom.
Those conversations have taught me to think differently about myself and my beliefs and my interactions with other people. And so I think I don't have to be waking up in the night to be brought to my senses. It's just something more in my natural thought process now.
So for anybody who is in that kind of chaotic transformation where they're at a crossroads, they need to make some life-changing or potentially life-changing decisions, what kind of guidance or advice would you give them?
I'd say a lot of the same things that Diana said to me is to slow down, listen to your own heart. Don't worry so much about what other think you should do. Take your time. Take your time and don't take any action until you're ready. I had a lot of people tell me, oh, you should just leave. You should just leave. Well, I wasn't ready to just leave, and it happened in its own time. I'd say trust in your higher power, that things are unfolding the way that they are supposed to, and whatever higher power means to you, whether that's your higher self or God or Kuan Yin or Diana, whatever that is, trust that there's something greater than yourself that's looking out for you and wants you to be happy and wants you to be fulfilled. To trust that and to learn to love yourself, that we all have more power than we know. And it's hard, and I think especially a lot of women that are used to taking care of other people and putting their own needs after those of their children or their spouse or their parents or, their employer or whatever it is. So it's easy to just say, oh, you gotta love yourself, but that's a big thing. And so I think it's baby steps, just sometimes learning to say no, light a candle and go take a bath, and, go for a walk, do some yoga, whatever it is that you love, start doing more of that.
Such a deeper relationship that's possible with our own spirit. And I think that once we embrace that, then what we offer to other people totally shifts as well.
I think a lot of people will think that loving themselves is selfish. And it kind of goes back to that old, put on your own oxygen mask right before you put on one for someone else. You have to take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup.
And we're here for our own journey through life. It's fantastic when we can touch the souls of other people, but this is really our experience.
So knowing your own work, what you're here to do, and not try to do other people's work, and not try to let other people tell you what your work is, right?
I'm going to say that you must have gotten over your, not confusion, what would I call it? Your skeptical perspective on spiritual journey, because you've written a book and you're much more visible. So that's a huge step, really.
So as I said, it didn't happen overnight. It was a journey, and little by little, I just have opened up to new ideas and new perspectives, and have learned to be less concerned about what people think. And I've learned as I opened up that that a lot of people share the same beliefs and perspectives, and so that's been exciting too, is to just let new people into my life.
So Rebecca, you may be one of the more regular kind of guests that I've had here on Exploring the Mystical Side of Life, but it seems like you're a bridge for those people who are just waking up or just taking their first steps on the spiritual path.
That's a great word, Linda. Yes, I kind of think of myself that way. And I told you in my background, I really had no experience with the metaphysical world, and I was living a corporate life. I was fortunate enough to kind of get banged over the head with it. And as I said, was a little afraid to tell other people at first with the kinds of experiences I was having. But I've just found so much more fulfillment in my life. And as I shared with other people, I found that lots of other people were seeking the same things.
Especially in this time, I think that there's a lot of people being pushed towards the spiritual or metaphysical. So it's really fantastic that you can hold that place of being a bridge, right? There's definitely some interesting things to explore on the mystical side of life. So keep your explorations going, I would say, and I would say that to everyone. Just play and discover what works for you, what you find resonance with.
And I remember some years ago saying to a coach, a friend, that I don't have anybody I can talk to about this. And she said, well, yeah, if you keep telling yourself that, change your story, change your life, right?
Thoughts create. So, Rebecca, is the moon available for anyone, do you think?
I think there are many faces of God. I think the moon is available to anyone. Absolutely, I do. And if it's not the moon for you, it might be something else. It might be the ocean or trees. It might be a god or goddess from mythology that takes on a persona for you. It can be your higher self or some other guide, or a spirit animal. Again, as I said, there are many faces of God. It could be Jesus. It can be Mary. Whatever resonates with you.
Now, you were fortunate enough to have the moon wake you up. If someone wanted to, let's say, communicate with the moon or the ocean or the spirit of trees or whomever they're looking for guidance, how would you suggest they get that ball rolling?
You can do that wherever you are, but if it's in nature, spirit that you wanted to connect with, definitely go outside and be near that. I mean, if you can go be near the ocean or near a lake or sit amongst some trees, if that's what you want to call upon, then do that. Or you can just be sitting in your own couch at home, anywhere you are, but just kind of quiet your mind and ask for help, ask for a helpful healing spirit to come into your heart, and to then be quiet and listen. Express gratitude, thank them, and just see what comes up for you. That'd be a very simple way to get started.
And, it might take a little bit of practice to get that momentum.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily going to happen instantaneously.
This is true. It doesn't have to be for very long, 10 minutes, but just taking some time to be quiet and just breathing.
Yeah, you have to leave space, right? You have to leave space for those answers to come. And they're not always words, right? Sometimes they're just feelings or a sense of knowing that things will work out, or a sense of peace.
Absolutely.
So what's next for you?
I hope to write another book, and it's going to be about how I met the love of my life, which I haven't met him yet, but
But just writing that book opens the door, right?
exactly.
Perfect. Rebecca, is there any final message you'd like to leave with the listeners?
I just want people to know you have way more strength and power than you know, and you have the support of the universe behind you. So you can create the life you want. So go for it, because you're worth it.
Beautiful message. So Rebecca, your book is called Rebecca Rising. And would you like to share your website or contact information with us?
Yes, my website is www.evolvewithoutlimits.com. So please come and visit me there. And there are also links to my books, which are also available on Amazon.
Thank you for being my guest.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my very great pleasure.
And thank you for listening to this week's episode of Exploring the Mystical Side of Life. You will find us on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Anchor.fm. You'll find me at thoughtchange.com. Come and pick up your free copy of Learning to Listen. Bye for now.